Hey everyone. I know this is not your usual start to an episode. Producer Tim here. I just wanted to start the episode off. We have a bit of a different episode today. Today, we invite on Jackie, who's worked in the Airbnb industry and is talking about some of her business fumbles of investing and getting into the Airbnb industry, homeowning, and flipping houses. As always, Sheila and I believe in sharing people's personal stories so that other people can learn from them. But we do realize that in business, we work with other people very often. And maybe we work with people that maybe didn't treat us so well. This platform is not to harm anyone or to bring defamation upon anybody or to talk about anything confidential that we're not allowed to speak about. But this is a personal account from Jackie herself, how it affected her family, how it affected her friends, and relationships she had with others. Being that's the case, you may notice some cuts or some weird jump arounds in this episode. We wanted to make sure we avoided mentioning anyone specific by name. I also don't mention Jackie's last name personally in this episode, just for her own privacy. But the accounts that she's relating to are real according to herself, and anyone's that are mentioned in the episode, we will try to keep their identity as ambiguous as possible so as just to impart the lesson that we're learning today about how she dealt in business and what we can glean from it. As always, hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into the episode.
Welcome to another episode of Business Fumbles. Today's guest is going to give us, some information about partnerships because we always talk about that. And we're going to allow her to introduce herself. She'll tell you a little bit about herself and the type of business that she had before we get started. So,
I'm from California. I'm married. We have 2 kids. And the story that I'm sharing is about our journey into entrepreneurship, specifically the Airbnb industry.
yes.
Ooh, we haven't
Wow.
had someone in the Airbnb industry
No,
yet,
we
right?
haven't.
No,
We haven't.
okay.
So
okay.
this is the first one. So I wanted her to come on the podcast to tell her story because it's very, very unique, and I think that everyone can relate to it. On an episode before, we talked about, you know, partnerships and how we form those partnerships. So I want to start off by allowing her to tell us how she even got the idea to do this. So how did you end up going into business? How did that, transpire?
Well, my husband and I had decided that we wanted to be the first in our family to pursue something different. So entrepreneurship really caught our attention, and we would have been the first ones in our family to really go outside of the normal blueprint, I guess you would say. And so, you see so many things online, you see so many offers, you see so many classes, workshops, and all that stuff. Well, we had come across this individual that we had known for about over 20 years.
Okay, so you really knew this person.
Right.
Okay.
We've go way back with this individual. And so, social media, let me just say, you can't believe everything that you see on social media.
Okay.
And so, long story short, we seen how good this individual was doing. And I was really, really proud of this individual.
So you've seen it on social media.
Yes.
And so, can you describe to us what did you see to show that he was successful?
Right. So just knowing how things were in the past to how things were recently, we just seen the lifestyle that he had created for himself.
Okay.
We seen his successful business, the Airbnb business. We were just so surprised and very proud of how far this individual had came. And so when I had noticed on this individual's profile that they were offering some type of a mentorship program.
Oh, okay.
I brought the idea to my husband and I said, hey, this person is doing really, really well for themselves. If they can do it, maybe we should give it a try too. And they're offering a mentorship program. So it was my idea to reach out to this individual. We connected with this individual, started talking about the opportunities of working together. And that's really how everything started.
Okay.
So,
And so when you reached out to him, did he contact you right away?
Right. So once we showed interest in working with this person, this individual was very, very responsive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we scheduled a Zoom call to meet virtually
Uh-huh.
because we were all in different places. You know, my husband and I are in California and this individual is in Nevada.
Okay.
So, yeah, and this individual, he asked us our story, what our goal was.
So he made it seem like he was really legit because he was getting you guys to sort of like open up and say, this is what I want to do.
Right, right. Well, when I reached out to him, I had mentioned to him, you know, remember, already knowing this person for over 20 years,
Oh, okay.
letting this person know you've come so far, you've built so much for yourself, you look like you're doing really well. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, so you were complimenting him.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he found that he's seen a way, really a quick way in.
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which now when I think about it, it was probably giving a way for him to feed off of that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, you know, she's bought.
Yeah.
You know, everything that I'm selling online, she's buying. So let me go ahead and work with this. So when we met virtually, he asked us all the questions, you know, where we were financially, what our goals were. And yeah, we had a very good conversation. We let him know. And we kind of just went from there. It was like kind of like an interview, I guess, if you will.
Okay, so after the interview, then what happened?
So after that, he had decided that the plan was he would work with my husband first.
Uh-huh.
And when I say that, working with my husband, meaning helping his credit,
Mhm.
helping him get funding, because, you know, at this point, we didn't exactly have the funding to invest in anything.
Well, how did he help you with the credit?
So I'm not exactly sure what steps he took, but he did give my husband very good advice as to, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to pay down some credit. We need to get your credit score up. And then also, I guess he had some type of a way to connect us with a finance company or a connection that he had to partners in the finance company to be
Mhm.
able to help my husband's credit.
Okay.
And again, I don't really know
Did
specifically.
you guys have to pay for that?
There was a fee, but he said because of the history we had between each other and the fact that we've known each other for so long, he was going to waive that fee.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So now continue.
So he was going to work with my husband first. This meant working on his credit, working on getting funding, and then investing into our first property.
Okay.
And then so while he was helping my husband, he had helped me kind of put me on a different path. He was introducing me to the life insurance industry, which I was like, okay, you know, I'm very open to it. Like I said, at this point, we really are just wanting to embody that entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
mentality. So I said, okay, that's okay. So was really helping both of us. When you look at it from like, you know, he was helping my husband, he was helping me. So with my husband, he was able to get my husband's credit up.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the next step was applying for funding.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, we were going into this not having the funding to invest in,
Mm-hmm.
but he said that he had ways and he knew how to apply for funding, such as loans,
Okay.
funding through credit cards.
Uh-huh.
You know, I believe the term that he would use is the wealthy, how they invest into their businesses is by using other people's money, loans, credit cards, with the intent to invest. And then, of course, you know, getting that money back, because instead of consuming, you're investing. So he went ahead and he worked on my husband with that.
So did he get him funding?
He did get him funding.
So what did he get him?
He was able to coach my husband through getting approved for a loan.
Okay.
And when we got approved for that loan, he had and he's instructing us the whole way. Like I said, we were in this mentorship program.
Okay, but did he get him also credit cards?
He got him funding in a loan, and he also got him funding with credit cards.
Okay, so how much was the credit card funding?
So I believe the loan that we were approved for was about $30,000.
Uh-huh.
And my husband received about a total of 3 credit cards. in the amount of, I want to say, a little over $20,000.
Okay.
So that's like 50,000.
About
Okay.
$50,000.
So now with the credit cards, once your husband got the credit cards, what did this person tell you to do with the credit cards?
Well, before we get to the credit cards, we started with the loan. So,
okay.
Right. So once he got approved for the loan, again, this is my husband he's working with first. So once my husband was approved for the loan, we were then instructed to send him the check, and that he would help invest our money into our first Airbnb property. Now, at this point, before even sending the check, we were under the impression that we were going to invest in a property in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is very busy, very consistent, popular. You know,
that makes sense.
A lot of transient people coming in and out.
Everybody's trying to come here, you know. So we're like, okay, great, Airbnb in Las Vegas. That sounds like a win. So that was the plan. But once the money was received by this person, the plans changed. All of a sudden, he said, you know, we don't have enough exactly to invest into a property in Las Vegas per se, but I was going to get rid of this property I have in Texas. And I think this will be a good starter for you all, since you guys are just starting this.
Wait a minute. What do you mean that he's got a property in Texas
to
get rid of?
Right. So apparently he's got multiple properties across different states, Texas and Nevada being the two main ones.
Okay.
But apparently he was going to, I guess, sell, or he just said he was getting ready to get rid of this property. And so he thought about us. And since we didn't have enough to invest into a Las Vegas property, because I guess Las Vegas is a little bit more, he was like, you know, instead of me getting rid of this property, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you all invest into this property. And I think it'll be a good starter for your first investment, your first property. And so at first we were like, okay, well, that wasn't really the plan. You know, we were a little bit disappointed because honestly, I mean, who really goes to Texas and rents an Airbnb, you know, and
this is like Austin, if anything.
Right. And I'm trying to think of the city, but it wasn't like any major city, you know? So there was that, you know, so we were like, okay, this is kind of a change in plan. We were really hoping for Las Vegas, but you know what? We've known you for so long. You're doing so well. Your business is booming. You know, the business profile on Instagram was like multi-million-dollar every year, owning so many properties. We're like, you know what? Let's just trust the process. Yeah. This must be all part of entrepreneurship. You know, there's always changes. So, and then also too, he would always assure us, everything's fine. I'm going to take care of you guys. You know, I just need you to be open-minded and be coachable. Okay. So we're like, okay, cool. You know, so we invest into this property into Texas, and then, you know, we're getting on meetings and such. And my husband's asking like, okay, well, you know, what all do we have to do with this property? Do we have to fly out every now and then? Do we have to worry about cleaners, housekeeping and such? And this individual said, no, not at all. I will take care of everything. We have a cleaning crew. We have housekeeping. We have people who can come in and fix things. Basically, the way he painted the picture was all you need to do is sit back and collect. And whatever profits you make will then be able to go towards that loan that we originally applied for. So we're like, okay, it sounds really easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that does sound really, really simple. Yeah.
So from what I'm understanding, actually, he's phrasing it as, from what I understand is he has properties that he would like to use as Airbnb, and he does need a little assistance. So if you could provide the assistance, he'll give you part of the profits. Right. Like he's like, I can run the cleaning. I have the property, but I can't get this off the ground. You guys don't have debt. If you guys are willing to take on debt for the business, I will bring you into the business and then I'll give you part of the profits. Right. Is what it kind of sounds like he's selling to you.
Right. Well, he did say too that it was going to be a 50-50 business partnership. And so the way he painted it is, it didn't seem like he was in need of money or anything like that. It seemed like he already had it. He was well established. He's got it made. You know, like I said, all on social media, like he's doing so well for himself with him and his family, traveling and all that stuff. So basically it was just like he was going to help manage the property once we invested our money into this property to, I guess, take it off of his hands, you can say. Wow. And so, you know, he made it really, really, he painted a really good picture for us.
Right. So you guys had this conversation, but if he accepted the loan and you guys were now in the process of doing this and now you guys are partners, why did you have to take out the other credit card loan?
Right. So once all of that was established, and I'll get to that here soon, but once everything was established with Airbnb and the loan, we then went on to setting up our Airbnb profile. So, you know, we were working closely with him and his partner, and they were helping set up our account to be able to list our property, to be able to rent it out as an Airbnb, setting up the, you know, the banking account information, all that stuff, all the back end stuff, so that all we really had to do was just sit back and collect the profits. So everything was going well. Everything was going smooth. I'd say maybe for about like a month or two. All of a sudden, we received this message that our Airbnb had been broken into. And so we're like, okay, is there anything that we need to do? Like, how serious is it? Did you file a police report? You know, really following up on it, because a break-in is serious. And if at that point, you know, that's going to affect our Airbnb business. So he went on to say, you know, everything's fine. We have everything covered. It looks like they only took maybe like 1 or 2 TVs. We have air tags in the TVs, so we're able to trace it and follow it. So we're like, okay, you know, well, when you file a police report, you know, if I could have a copy of that, that would be great. And so he's like, yeah, no worries, I got you. So he was able to trace the TVs, sending us screenshots and everything. Everything was through phone. Everything was through text messages, screenshots, and all that stuff. So I was like, okay. So then maybe like a couple days go by, maybe a week or 2 goes by. And then my husband, I always tell my husband, he has such amazing discernment, you know. He would always start to think like, hey, you know, we haven't really seen any profit yet. And it's already been about maybe 2 or 3 months since we've invested. And if there was a break-in into our property, we haven't received a police report. At this point, we haven't received an update. So is our Airbnb still running? You know, and then so we, you know, of course, we go back and forth with this individual, wanting to call a meeting, trying really to get on the phone and talk, because at this point, text messaging back and forth is just, this is something we seriously need to talk about. Well, during all that, it started to become really hard to contact this individual. It started to become really hard to have some time for him to get on a Zoom call, to get on a phone call, you know, and we were just receiving a lot of text messages. Also, you know, he was, you know, so eventually, I kept asking for the reports. I'm very persistent, very consistent. I kept asking, hey, you know, we need this. So after a while, we were just kind of really like frustrated. And he would just always tell us, oh, you know, I'm about to hop on a flight, or I'll call you in 5 minutes. You know, we'll talk. We'll schedule some time to talk. So we just thought it was like really weird. So now all of a sudden, maybe like another week or 2 go by, and finally he contacts us and he's like, okay, I have a plan. You know, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce your husband to some people that I know in the finance company, so we can get you guys approved for more funding. We're going to invest in another property in Las Vegas. Mind you, we still haven't really gotten an answer as to the break-in in the Texas property. I haven't received a police report yet, you know, so we're like, okay, you know, okay, let's do it. Let's go ahead and let's make time for that.
Now, you did that because you guys really, really just wanted to have your business up and running and making that extra income.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So our goal was, you know, our goal with all of this was really to build generational wealth, to be able to leave something behind for our kids to take over.
Yeah.
You know,
that's understandable.
Right. You know, so, like for my husband and I growing up, nothing was really left behind for us. So everything that we've worked hard to get to where we're at and to what we have. So, you know, we really wanted to have something special to leave behind for our kids. So now fast forward, we're getting introduced to this finance company, all the while, you know, I guess he's trying to figure stuff out with the Texas property. And so they're doing more credit repair for my husband and applying for more funding. So during this time, the individual who we got into business with originally was kind of a little bit quiet, a little bit distant. And now, you know, our focus is over here on, I guess, his partners, the finance people. So we're going through everything. My husband's going through everything. And then all of a sudden we realize my husband is receiving credit cards in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, okay.
So wait a minute. They applied for the credit cards?
It
Your
seems
husband
like it.
didn't?
My husband didn't apply for any credit cards.
Wow.
So all they did was they took my husband on as a client. They did what they did to help his credit repair is what they call it, and apply for more funding is what they said. So we didn't know that applying for more funding was going to be in the form of credit cards.
I wonder if that's, I don't think that you should be doing that. If they apply for something, because they're basically signing his name to apply for it. He has to be involved with the application, because you have to sign that you agree with the terms and interest rates and all of that stuff. So he just received credit cards in the mail?
Right. So he started receiving credit cards in the mail, about 3 of them. And so backing up a little bit to when they were taking my husband on as a client, my husband did have to fill out an application. So that does make sense. They had my husband's name, his address, his date of birth, Social Security.
But it's not a power of attorney.
No, it wasn't
that was
a power
just
of attorney.
to do business with them.
Right.
It's not for them to go and go around and just get credit cards. No credit card company is going to do that.
Right.
They're expecting the person that's getting that credit card to be the signature on it when they apply.
That part. Well, and now that you mentioned that, right, a signature, my husband did sign a form. And so that makes sense, because if my husband signed and filled out this form digitally, that means that they had a wet signature.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make any assumptions or anything, but like I said.
Yeah, but you can't take a signature from one form and put it on another.
Right.
But I understand that.
Right.
Continue.
But then, like you said, my husband did not personally apply for those credit cards. So
that's weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue.
Right. So, we're working with these people, and we're receiving credit cards in the mail. At this time, we didn't really know what it was yet. We're just receiving mail, right? Because right now, my husband's mindset is still, what's happening with the property in Texas?
Yeah.
We're still trying to reach out to this individual, and we're not able to get any time on the phone with him, So one day we were just looking through everything, and we're like, wait, I think the mail that we received were like credit cards. Like, let's open those. Let's see what that's all about. Maybe that's the funding that we were supposed to get. So we go through it together. We're opening it up, and we're like, oh, okay, I guess we have more funding. So we go back and I'll just call him our business partner, because that was the whole goal of all this, was to get into business together, right? So we go back and we reach out to our business partner, and we let him know, hey, we have these credit cards, I guess, after working with your partners that you connected us with. And all of a sudden now we've got his interest. Now all of a sudden he's very receptive to us, right? So he's like, oh, okay, yeah, give me 5 minutes. We'll go ahead. We'll hop on a call. Let me know what banks that they're from, how much each balance is, and we'll go from there. Okay, cool. So we do that. So we go through all the credit cards, and I'm a very organized person. So what I do is we're going through, we're labeling what card. Well, on the card it says where it's from, what bank it's from, but on the card I'm writing the balance down of each one so that we can know right off the bat and have answers ready for him, so as not to waste each other's time. So we get on this phone call, and he's like, okay, great. How much is the balance for each card? And I'm telling him, I'm showing him. And, remember, this is our business partner, somebody that we've known for over 20 years. So we have no reason not to trust him, right? So he's like, okay, send me a screenshot of each card. That way I can have everything all on paper. And we're like, okay, cool. So we tell him how much we have on each card. He has a screenshot of it. And now he's like, okay, now that we have funding, we can go ahead and we can invest into more properties. So we're like, okay, let's do this, and then we're still following up too on the Texas property. And he's like, I'm working on it. We're getting people in, we're renovating it. We're redecorating and all that stuff. We found the TVs. We just got to put everything back together. We're like, okay, well, is that going to hurt our business? Because we're up and running and live on Airbnb platform. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. He's like, remember what I told you. You have to be coachable. This happens in entrepreneurship. This happens in business. You have to be able to take risks, is what he says. So
also, timeline of events? Because now we're seeing where we're at. We're like 3 months in now, about at this point with the credit cards, or from starting investing to.
This is about going on the 4th month now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in between all of this, were you getting any dividends from the Airbnb property? Like, you can look up on the app, you could see your property, you could see if people had stayed and people were sending money towards it, or was that all on their end and you were just getting a check at most, if anything?
We weren't seeing anything. That was all on their end. They were the ones who were managing our business. You know, like they said, all we had to do was sit back and collect.
Okay.
And at
Did
first,
he send you any money?
At first, he would send us money. Excuse me. At first, he would send us money to be able to pay towards the loan because we weren't making any profits. So he's like, it's okay. Don't worry. You know, send me the invoice and I'll go ahead and I'll pay you. So we're like, okay, you know, and that worked out maybe like the first 2 months.
Okay.
Then into the 3rd month, you know, then we had to be like, okay, hey, we have a bill here. And my husband was like, it doesn't seem like this is how it should go. I feel like we shouldn't have to keep asking you and sending you a bill. Like, I feel like this should just be happening smoothly and automatically, you know?
Exactly.
Yes.
So, you know, of course, my husband, his, you know, gears are turning. He's thinking about everything. And like I said, he's got amazing discernment, you know, but again, we're giving this person the benefit of the doubt because we've known him for over 20 years,
Yeah.
you know, and we thought that we had a good friendship, but you know, we'll get to that part. So now all of a sudden, fast forward, we have the funding now, right? Now we've got his attention again. Now he's like willing to work with us and now he has the time. So now we're going to be investing in another property. So he's instructing us at this point, okay, I'm going to email you some invoices. It's going to have a balance on there. And what I want you to do is over such and such time, I want you to pay this amount here, this amount here, this amount here. He instructed us how much to pay, when. And so we're like, okay, we'll go ahead and we'll do that.
Wait a minute.
Onto the credit cards.
Wait a minute. What's the invoice for?
So at this point, he says, we're going to liquidate the credit cards that you have because at this point we have 3 credit cards.
Yeah.
Okay, people. You cannot send an invoice out unless it is for service or product. Because so right now, the fact that he sent an invoice, that is fraud. That's fraud 101 because what actually happened, you can't just say, I'm going to send you an invoice to liquidate a credit card. Are you serious right now? What is wrong with people? Okay, you could continue.
Yeah.
Right. So
we're going to get fired up in the back. Don't mind.
Right. But no, you know, Sheila's absolutely right. But like I said, at this point, you know, my husband and I are new to all of this stuff. So we're just going based off of really mutual trust and the fact that we've known this person for so long. So at this point with the credit cards, we're receiving invoices. He's emailing us invoices and we're instructed to pay a certain amount towards each invoice. Now at this point, because my husband is already having kind of like concerns and stuff like that, of course, I'm saying, okay, you know what? When we make these payments, I'm going to take a screenshot of each receipt and I'm going to document it, how much we paid, when we paid it, using what card.
Okay.
And so, you know, I have all that documented already. And so we go ahead and we liquidate our credit cards. So now we're $50,000 invested with one property in Texas that had been broken into, with 2 TVs stolen, still no police report. We've liquidated these credit cards to invest into another property. And so now we're just kind of waiting. And so as we're waiting, I'm kind of already at this point getting a little bit tired of waiting on him to give us the police report. So I just figured it out. I have the address for the Airbnb. Let me go ahead and Google in ChatGPT the nearest police station to this property. And let me go ahead and let me just help out, you know, because he must be busy. He's managing all these properties.
Yeah.
You know, we're just another, you know, business partners that he's helping. I'm like, there must be a lot on his plate. Let me go ahead and do this. And so I do. And I received 2 police reports back. And the first police report that I had received, I wasn't even told about. And a whole lot of stuff was reported on there. Our business partner wasn't even the one who called in. Somebody else's name was on the police report who called in. And it was a lot of stuff. It seemed like a lot of the furnishings were stolen. It was reported that someone had broken in through a window. A screen was pulled away from it and placed off to the side. I mean, it was really interesting.
Do you know if the police report was used for insurance?
I don't know.
Because if they had insurance on there and all of that stuff was missing, they can collect
Right.
insurance on what was missing.
Right.
Have
so
you decided-
insurance fraud is possible here.
Right.
is what
Is
you're
it
saying.
right?
Oh, yeah,
Because
okay.
Right.
why would you have a police report? And he said that it was only the TVs. But then when you get the report, there's a list of things. And I know that, when you have a building or you have, you're renting something or whatever, you have renter's insurance.
Mhm.
And so with the police report that all of this stuff is missing, then they can go to their insurance company and collect on it, and you don't know anything about it. And if you're a part owner on it,
Right.
that's something you should have known, and that check should have went into the business account,
Right. Right.
to replace all of that stuff.
Well, we didn't hear anything about any insurance reimbursement, nothing. And remember,
Maybe that's something you should look into.
right, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that point about how
Yeah.
I put everything together and how I figured everything out. So that was the first report. And then the second report was the one that had the TVs on there.
Yeah.
And it was just, reading the story on there and how it came about to happen, how somebody broke in. I mean, like I said, one report said someone came in through the window. Another one said someone came in through the back door and there was a lot of damage to the door. So at this point, we're like, okay.
That sounds like insurance fraud, but go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so, actually, and then back up even like before the break-in, there was some booking. There was one booking that happened, and it was like a back and forth thing. I was getting the emails, but somebody else was, handling it, answering the questions and such. And so, I would see the interaction via email and I'd be like, okay, they're handling it. Looks like someone is booking out and all that stuff. So it looked like there was some type of a profit of like a little over $200. I'd say maybe like $230, but we never received anything of it, and then so after that was when all of a sudden became a problem with the Airbnb, the TVs getting stolen and such. So I had forgot that part. I left that part out. So there was one booking, which made money. We didn't receive anything of it. Now fast forward back to, we had already liquidated the credit cards. I had already received the police reports. And now we're just going back and forth with this individual and nothing is really making sense. So my husband and I were talking and we had remembered that we knew some friends who had gotten into business with him before we did. And so we decided, you know what? Let's call them and let's ask them how their experience is going.
Okay.
And so we call them. And as soon as my husband says, hey, how is everything going with your business with this person? And the moment that they said what they said, we already knew. They were like, well, first you tell me what happened with you guys and then we'll let you know. And my husband and I just looked at each other and we're like, okay. So, we're like, we already knew. We were already having these feelings and these doubts and these thoughts just of how everything was going. Mind you, at this point, we haven't signed any contracts.
Yeah.
We haven't signed anything.
That's what I was going to ask.
Right.
Next. Yep.
Right. We haven't signed any contracts. We're just going back and forth verbally with, okay, it's a 50-50 business partnership. We're like, okay. So we hear their side of the story and we're putting two and two together. And at this point, I'm mad. I'm livid. I'm hurt. Seeing my husband mad and hurt and disappointed. Like I said, we have children.
Yeah.
And the money that we invested with this person, we didn't even have this money to begin with. So we're $50,000 in the hole. We're just finding all this stuff out from mutual friends who are also in business with this person. And we decide to confront him. And I'm thinking about everything. I'm going through everything. And I'm telling him, we haven't signed any contracts with you. We've given you all this money. My husband's name is on all of these loans. What it looks like from my standpoint is my husband is responsible for the debt and you have the money to do God knows what with,
So what did he say?
And so he called me. He called me back right away. We were on the phone And I was just telling him, I was like, I'm not dumb. I'm putting everything together. I know exactly what you did. You had my husband apply for all this funding. We invested all this money with you. We haven't signed any contracts with you. And now we have nothing to show for except debt.
Mm-hmm.
We're sending you all these invoices. You said you were going to help pay until we were profitable, until we started making profit, right? You were our managing member. You were the one who was going to manage the business. We were 50-50 partners. And you don't even pay on time anymore. It started good at first. It started good. He was making good at first, right? But now when I think about it, it's like he was making good at first to kind of just show you like, okay, hey, you can trust me. You can trust me. And then also back up.
You do know what that
right.
When, you know, when you're in business with someone and they're doing things like that, this is the behavior. And I have to say this, but this is the behavior of a Ponzi scheme. They find people that are willing to look at them. You know, number one, they on social media or to people, it looks like they're very successful. And so it sort of entices people saying, if he can do it and he's going to help me do it, I want to get a part of it.
Right.
So then he brings in one person, takes their money, while over here, he's going to give them a payment to make them think, oh, yeah, this is good. And it's just a cycle. They just keep doing it. And then as people fall off, because they're not making the money, is usually the lower income people that they feel that they can't do anything about it.
Right.
And then they keep going until they get the big fish. And they keep doing it. You know, if you look at the situation with Enron, that's exactly what he did. And he was taking trips on the boats. He had brought, look at the one situation with the doctor that's here in Vegas. She was building something over in the Philippines. She was buying like these luxury cars and everything. And it was all fraud.
Yeah. Do you ever heard about the crypto guy, Sam Bankman-Fried?
No.
Long story short, he was able to tell people that his currency was worth a certain amount. Then miraculously, with his currency, started a investment fund, like a bank that had actual money, didn't have money. It was just a front. And then with those two kind of funneling whatever cash they had, saying, there's more over there. We just have a little bit here. And then when they would look, they're like, oh, no, it's over there. And like they would just keep doing that. This guy was on a private island, partying, spending millions of dollars that came from investors.
And that's what they do.
Had all the debt.
Yeah.
Because they were investing into his product. And when they found out, oh, his best friend, his girlfriend, and some other friends were in on it, his girlfriend sold him so fast. And
she sold him?
She sold him. She said it was all his idea. And the best friend said it was all his idea. The government knows they were in on it, but they're like, as long as we get somebody. Right. And they let them all go. And they put him in jail.
Oh, so they just put him in jail.
He took the brunt of it, yeah.
Eventually
he got caught. He did get caught.
Yeah.
But
her story
is
sounds like it sounds like this is what's going on.
You're seeing the red flags.
Right. We're seeing the red flags. And, you know, also, mind you, as we're giving him money, you know, with the loan and all that stuff, and, you know, we're friends on Instagram and I'm paying attention to everything, his lifestyle is just so lavish, going out to dinners, having extravagant dinners, going on vacation, having extravagant birthday parties, you know, and so we're just like,
so he's living it up off of y'all money,
right? Living it up, you know. And there were so many times where, you know, I would even comment and be like, you know, you're doing so great, I'm so proud of you, you know, really complimenting him, because like I said, remembering where we had all started and where we had all met over 20 years ago to where we're at now, you know, I always give credit where credit is due. And when I see friends who maybe weren't doing so well back then and maybe partied a little too hard and maybe would always like knock out drunk from drinking a little too much before the party even started, you know, I give credit where credit is due. And
knock out before the party even started.
You know, so at this point, we're in maybe a little bit over 4 months now, right? Because there's maybe like a week or two in between as things are happening and we're putting things together and we're kind of like, no, we're okay. Things just happen. You know, we just got to be open.
Yeah.
We just got to go with the flow, right? Things happen. And so at this point, during the confrontation, I was texting him, and then he had called me back, and I told him, I said, I know everything. I've been putting everything together, you know, and he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Who did you talk to? Who have you been talking to? You know, and then mind you, even before we got into business with him, when we did the initial call, you know, he had shared a story about, he was like, hey, you guys remember so-and-so from back in the day, right? And we're like, yeah, you know, he was cool. My husband and I, we never had any bad blood with anybody, nothing, you know? And so we're like, yeah, we know so-and-so. And he was like, yeah, well, you know, I did the same thing with him, took him on, helped him get funding, helped him get a property. And once everything was good and going, he walked away with the business. And we're like, oh, well, that's kind of messed up, you know? So he had shared that little story with us when we first did everything. So we're like, oh, okay, well, that's not cool. We don't plan on doing that to you. Right. So
did you reach out to that guy?
No, we didn't. Because the way he painted that story was like, oh, well, that's messed up. Like, you know, you're doing so well for yourself. You look like such a successful business person. You know, I guess that comes with business. You start making money, people start acting funny.
Right.
So now fast forward back to the confrontation on the phone. He was asking, who did you talk to? Who have you been speaking to? That's not it. He's convinced that he had not done anything wrong. And I'm telling him, this is how everything looks. My husband applied for all of the funding. We invested in these properties only to have a booking that was done. We didn't see that money. You stopped paying our bills like you said you were going to until we started really generating consistent cash flow. And we liquidated our credit to invest into another property. And now all of a sudden, like, things are just, it's just weird. It's just funny. And then I had already received the police reports. I told him, I said, I got the police reports myself, and you didn't tell us about any of that stuff that went missing. You just said that 2 TVs were stolen, but there was such a long list on that police report, all of the furnishings and all that. And I said, that looks like insurance fraud. Did you claim anything?
You said that to him?
I did. I called him out on it. I said, did you claim anything? Did you report that to insurance? Because we didn't see anything from that.
Yeah.
You know, and so he's just really going on. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And during this whole time with this whole business, I had wrecked my car. So I was without a car for a little bit. And so he even had the audacity to bring up, well, I know how I can help you guys with the car. We can get you guys a car, get you back on the road. And, you know, we're going to do more funding and this and that. And I told him, you know what? No. We are not going to go any further with you. We're not going to give you any more money. We're not going to sign any more applications to work with any more finance companies. No, like, this is it. We're done. And I was like, we don't even have any contracts. My husband didn't sign any contracts with you. I'm just going off of, and this is how I met Sheila, you know, because we were introduced to Sheila as our CPA as well to help with the whole business and all that stuff. And, you know, I was telling him,
I can, like, when she got upset with him, she felt like every person he dealt with was in on it.
Yes.
So, and that's where the problem really came.
Right.
You know, she's a wonderful investigator. I gotta say that. But how I ended up coming into it, I did their taxes. And so it was really funny because she had reached out to me and she says, did we sign this form or did we sign that form? And I'm like, well, yeah, I can't submit without you signing it. And then she was like, well, I don't see that we ever gave you this and we ever gave you that. And then I said, yeah, I have that information. Well, you don't know if it's right. And I'm like, well, if it wasn't right, they wouldn't have given you the refund.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and I think she didn't remember that we were on the phone most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, I had the documents, but we were on the phone, and then whatever I asked them for, her husband would send to me or whatever. And in that conversation that we were on the phone, she was just such a pleasant person.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear it in her voice, and she was very professional. Yes, and we're going to get this, and we're going to get, you know, she was just very professional. And so when I was looking at her text messages, and I said, can we talk on the phone? Because I got a feeling, and she's like, no phone calls, only text. So I said, wow, this is weird.
Yeah.
So then she started emailing, and I was like, okay, this ain't right.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to block this. I don't have any time to
you're
deal
feeling
with
like
that.
you're almost like this is different.
Different,
What's going
different.
on? Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. This is weird. So I said to the office manager, I was like, I'm going to block this person because this person is like being weird or whatever. And so you know how she is. She's like, what is it concerning?
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, it's concerning such and such or whatever. She jumps out the chair and she says, unblock it.
Ooh.
Unblock it.
Okay.
And so then I was like, why? And she was like, cause I want to talk to her.
Ooh.
You know, I need to see this. I
Yeah.
need to hear this. And so I tried to talk to her, but she wasn't having it. She was like, nope, no phone calls or whatever. So I'm like, something that's not weird. So I
Yeah.
called the person and I was like, listen, you sent me this person. What's going on? So he said, oh, she's crazy. Don't even listen to her or whatever. And I said, no, I remember talking to her. You know, when you talk to someone and they're pleasant,
You know,
and you can feel their
exactly.
energy,
Exactly.
I was like, no, something ain't right. What happened? So he explained to me their situation. And after that, I hung up the phone and I was like, okay, I see what's going on. It's something more
Yeah.
and it's going to come out. And then
Ooh.
eventually I explained to her, like, I see what's going on. He told me what's going on. And I assure you, I have nothing to do with that. And I explained to her what my next step is, because people need to understand, they always think that they can go to a tax preparer. That tax preparer can do their taxes. They trust that person. But we have an obligation. And that obligation is, number one, that we make sure that you are who you say you are.
Yep.
So all of the forms that she was saying, did you get this? Did you get that? I had it. So I wasn't really worried, you know, because I'm not going to submit it unless I do have it.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you know, we are obligated. I don't care if they're not an enrolled agent or a CPA, they just a tax preparer. They have to ask for your previous year's tax return, your driver's license. They have to gather all of this information. So, you know, but also, if we know that something is not right, we're obligated to report it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're obligated. You know, so, and if they do something wrong on your return, there's forms out there that you can fill out for any tax preparer, CPA, I don't care who it is. You can fill that report out and say that you feel like it's misconduct and they can lose their license.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you lose your license, just like an attorney can be disbarred.
Yeah.
You know,
Checks and balances.
So,
Make sure
right.
everything's- Yeah.
So she didn't know this, but because of how our interaction was when I was doing some work for her, that's what stemmed me to say, wait a minute, no, she's not like that. What's going on? And then, you know, with the manager of the company, she, from the beginning, she was just like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Something's not right. She always felt like that, you know. And then there was an issue with when they got the the locations, and then they had to put the furniture and stuff in there to get it ready to get the Airbnb. And although as the accountant and bookkeeping, we're going to put all of the information based off of the bank account and everything. And if we don't know what something is, we send you a file and we say, you have all of these transactions. We need to know exactly what this is for. So then they come back and say, oh, this is for furniture. This is for this, and this is for that. The problem came in for him is when she did it a couple of times, but then like the third time she was like, nah, that's not gonna work for me. I need a receipt.
Yeah.
I need to attach the receipt. If you pay $2,000 for a couch, I need the receipt so that I can attach it to the transaction. And so at that point he was like, well, why do you need that? And she's like,
he asked that?
Yeah. He asked, because he says we could tell you exactly what it is. And the problem is that we had someone else call and they were asking, where's the receipt for the furniture?
Yeah.
Because we got to reimburse them and I need the receipts. And the person that did the books was like, we don't have no receipts. He told us that's what it was because it was in the bank. So after that, she was like, nope, I need a receipt. So whatever y'all say it is, I need the receipt and I need it to be attached.
I'm seeing a recurring thing with this guy that he says something and then hopes that that's good enough. And just like, why do you don't need to verify anything. I already told you and just move on.
Yeah, but that didn't work with this person. And the bad part about it is it became a problem long before anybody on the outside became a problem for him. She became a problem for him because she would not complete. She would not complete the books without the receipts. She started and it was really funny. So when she gave me that attitude, I was like, oh no, I gotta, I don't really have time to deal with this. I haven't done anything wrong. I don't know what's going on. So I'm gonna block her. And she was like, unblock it. No, we need communication.
Yes.
I need to know what's going on because she just had that feeling, and then when you're the accountant and you're like, you got partners, and that other partner calls you and you're only used to dealing with one, but the other partner is yelling at you, well, what about this and what about that? Think about what position that puts us in because we're thinking, like, oh, well, he's telling them. So then it got to a point where anyone that we did, when she sent the financials or when she sent the file for them to tell us what it was or ask for receipts, she made sure that she copied the partner.
Yeah.
And then that became a problem.
Yeah.
So, it just goes on and on. So that's how I came in.
Yeah.
So now she could continue telling her story.
So now, so Sheila's here. Sheila's seeing some weirdness with the numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not answering her. And it's almost like she's talking to two different people at this point.
Yeah.
So now, what do you do now that you're realizing there's something
right?
weird
So,
going
and
on?
like Sheila said, like we laugh about it now, but at that point, I'm like, I was going through, I guess, PTSD already, like so much trauma because I'm like, okay, none of this makes sense. $50,000 again to us is such a huge amount, being so new to all this investing and all this stuff. And so, when I was confronting him, I was asking him for proof. I said, we haven't signed any contracts. We haven't signed anything. We don't have any paperwork that says we are official partners, and I want to make something very clear. We would not do this if we hadn't known the person.
Right.
If we were just going into business with somebody that we had just met, guarantee you there would be signed contracts. We would not make or send any money whatsoever.
Yeah.
But again, because we have known this person for over 20 years and we'd been following his, social media and just seeing how well he's been doing for himself, it's like we went in with just all trust, And so he started sending us all these screenshots of documents trying to prove that we had signed contracts and that our names were on things. And, again, with the paperwork that he was sending us, there was no signatures. I started researching the documents that he was sending us. And, I guess he said that he had created an LLC for us.
Uh-huh.
So, and remember at this point, I have absolutely no experience with creating businesses, managing businesses, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So this is where ChatGPT comes into play.
Yeah.
So,
I wasn't ready for this part.
so ChatGPT comes into play, and I really encourage people out there, don't fear AI, don't fear ChatGPT. It can really help you, point you in the right direction. Of course, it's not perfect, but it really helped us get some answers, and it really helped put me on a path of where I could start being proactive about this whole situation.
Yeah.
So I started running the forms through ChatGPT, asking ChatGPT certain things like, is this an official document? I don't see any signatures here. Is this legal and standing and binding? Like, will this stand in is this legit, basically? And just everything, all the forms we were looking through, everything. My husband's name was on a couple of the forms. One of the forms wasn't even our address. So it was the person's name, my husband's name, trying to show the 50-50 business partnership. But then the address, when I looked it up, was like somewhere in the LA fashion district.
Okay.
No signature on that form, and it was supposed to be, I think, from like maybe the IRS or something. However, you form businesses.
Yeah.
And then on another form, again, no signatures, nothing. And he kept insisting, I created an LLC. Check this website. He said, he goes, go on Silverflume and check the business LLC. His name is on there. Well, I go and I check Silverflume. I look up our business LLC. Neither one of our names is on there. His name is on there.
Yeah.
His business name, where we had liquidated our credit cards to, was on there as a managing member. And then there was another LLC business that was listed on there as a managing member. Nowhere on there was my husband's name. Nowhere on there was my name. And I sent him that back. We were going back and forth. And I said, there is nothing that proves we are in business together. So you took our money, you did whatever with it, and we have nothing to show for except debt. And so at this point, I don't trust anybody that he had, because he had introduced us to Sheila when we first started. This is Sheila.
So you're wondering who's in on it, who's not.
Right,
Yeah.
right. At this point, I'm like, okay, everybody's in on it, And so then I'm going to Sheila, and I'm like, Sheila, we invested all this money. We invested $30,000 here, and then we liquidated credit cards here. And I'm like, you're supposed to be the CPA for our business. And she's like, I don't have anything to show that you have invested any money.
Yeah.
There's nothing here on the books. Nothing was reported to me. And I was like, and at this point, my husband and I, we do, we're in this together. We're doing everything together. And we're like, our hearts just drop.
Yeah.
We're like,
that's the moment you're like,
right. That's the moment.
I realize how bad this is.
Then that just confirmed everything. Sheila was like, there's nothing that shows that you, and I was like, no, we did. We sent him $30,000 to invest in a property in Texas. And then we liquidated our credit cards about almost well over $20,000 to the other business LLC, supposedly to invest in more properties.
And then I was going through, like, I can look up the numbers, and then I was going through the bank, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what
so on
you're
his
talking
end, they
about.
didn't exist really. They were just like
no
miracle money.
And then there was, number one, I don't go, if I have a funny feeling about something, I'm not going to act on it. I need proof. And even though, like, I would have conversations with this person, I'll say, listen, because there was a lot of people would call and say, well, you're our, accountants or whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not. Oh, well, yeah, you are, because this is what this person told me. And I would make it clear, listen, I don't work for you. I have nothing to do with you. I provide a service for you. And that's where it ends. And I'm tired of people associating me with you. I don't do things like that. And then I would tell, him all the time, like, if I see any inkling of you doing something wrong, I'm going to report you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would ask and say, well, if it, based off of this, am I doing anything wrong? And I would say, well, first of all, if you're a partnership, you should have a partnership business set up.
Mm-hmm.
And then because he would tell the people, we got this unit together.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do your taxes, we can split the depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
You can't split a house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You only get one form.
Yeah.
You only get one form from the bank.
Yeah.
So you're going to either put it on
Multiple
your
names.
tax return or their tax return. Number one. So the partnership should be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you set up the partnership, I'm going to tell people, because sometimes I get people come in and they set up their business. I can do your LLC operating agreement. I talk to you. I explain to you what it is. But when you are investing money, and I'm going to say something as small as $10,000. If you're giving someone $10,000, then you have enough to go get an attorney. Mm-hmm. And have that attorney draw it up. I'm always saying that.
Yes.
And I know that if people know me and they see this, they're going to be like, yeah, she always tell us, get an attorney. Get an attorney. Explain to the attorney the type of business that you're doing, the partnership that you're doing, so that everything is written and clear. Because you can have a partnership like their partnership was almost like a silent partner because he was doing all of the work. Mm-hmm. Well, a silent partner, it needs to be documented. It needs to say exactly that. Mm-hmm. They're going to get 50% of the liability and the income. He's going to get 50% of the income and the liability, but he's going to manage the business, because then he could come back when it gets like going and it gets really, really busy, and he'll say, well, this is too much for me. I need you guys to help me. Well, my contract says I'm a silent partner.
Yeah.
I don't do anything.
Exactly.
So if you want me to do anything, then we need to adjust this, and then we need to adjust my part. That's key.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I gave you the money. You didn't give me the money.
Yeah.
So it needs to be spelt out.
Yeah.
And you need to get someone that's going to ask the right questions. And the attorney is going to ask those questions. Okay, who's going to do this? Who's going to give that? Who's giving this? And they're going to write it up.
Right.
So it's very important. And so I told him, you got to have partnership. The business, the property has to be in that business. And then when you do the business return, each one will get a K1, and they'll have their depreciation and their income, and you will have yours because it's split up on there. And on that tax return, it's going to say everything. But you can't tell a person, well, we can split the depreciation.
Yeah. There's nothing holding them to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, whoever got the loan is the one that's going to get the document.
Exactly.
So you're going to take a document that got Jimmy Sue Carter on it, and your name is Amber, Williams or whatever, and you're going to put that on your tax return? What sense does that make?
None. Yeah.
So that's why it would, like, a lot of this stuff was coming to the forefront, because I was getting people to call me, and I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, this person told me, I don't care what that person told you. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And, and it was getting very annoying, because at times I would be like, get off my phone. This is stupid. I'm not going to deal with this.
So at this point, there's this back and forth going on between you and this guy. Clearly things are not up, and now you're communicating. You're trying to fish her out.
Yeah.
Right.
How long does this back and forth go before you guys start?
Oh, no. After, the manager was like, unblock her. I want to talk to her. And she was actually going in on it. And then finally she called me.
Yeah.
And she told me her side.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit different. And I said, okay. And she says, well, wait a minute. Well, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm not at liberty to say.
Yeah.
But thank you. This is what I needed.
So the manager wasn't in on it either, though. She wasn't completely aware of what he was doing.
No, none of us was.
Wow.
Actually, in this whole situation, I finally now I know exactly. I never knew anything because I'm just hearing like how many days ago about the invoicing.
Ooh.
I never knew that. I've never seen that invoice. I've never seen
Earlier this
the
week.
payment.
Mhm.
I never
you're
seen
talking about the
any
ones
of
he
that.
gave you.
Yeah, earlier this week.
Yeah, but it didn't come from her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was someone else called me
Mhm.
to ask me questions because I did a tax return for them. And so then I was like, well, yeah, you know. And so then she explained it and she says, and I got an invoice. And I said, you got an invoice? An invoice for what? To liquidate my credit cards. And I was like, you can't get an invoice to liquidate your credit cards. Invoices are for service or products.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, I got the invoice. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so then I hung up the phone and I'm like pacing the floor like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Now you're red flags are going off. You're like, this is weird. This is weird.
And so then it was like, okay, I was like really on edge because I've never heard of this. I never heard of this stuff. I'm like, what? You can't do this. And I'm like pacing the floor and my emotions is all over the place. And I was like, this is great. And so with me, when I get like that, I have to step back. And that's how I was able to figure it out. And I wrote it down and I said, okay, this is how this happened. And when I wrote it down and then I sat back and I read it and I shared it with a couple of people and they said, that's exactly what happened. I got it then.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I was coming for Sheila, because at this point I was like, I don't know who I could trust. I wasn't gonna let her block me. She was like, I have nothing to do with this. I was like, no, you have everything to do with this because we only met you because of this person. Like you did our taxes. And it's funny because I didn't. I was questioning everything. I was questioning everything on the tax return, on the application. I was looking at everything, and then finally, her and I connected and we were just talking about everything and she just, she believed me, and, at this point, and the whole time too, this person just absolutely is so disrespectful, disrespecting me, going off on me, really just, he's telling everybody, ignore me, don't listen to me, I'm crazy. And, I don't know if you had already mentioned this, but this person is known for going after minority. Well, my husband is black. And so it made sense to me that he wanted to work with my husband first. And, apparently he only targets minority because he thinks minority are too dumb to catch on, to understand what's happening, or because we're in a certain income bracket that we're so desperate to really to make it. And honestly, before this, we were fine. We had absolutely no debt. Our whole goal was, okay, once we save up and once we make all this money and we pay these loans back and stuff, our next goal was to get a house. Because, we have 2 boys and we are growing out of where we are at fast. And so, when we think about everything and when we go back and we just look at, oh my gosh, it was so easy to get that funding. My husband's credit score was like the best we had ever seen, the best he had ever witnessed himself, and just how easy it was to get all this funding. And the fact that we just gave this funding based off of trust, now it's like that could have been a down payment for a house. And it's, it was a really, really tough lesson to learn. But at the end of the day, so much good came out of it, and it's so crazy. My husband and I, we talk all the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, it's crazy. I'm like, but so much good has come out of this. I'm like, our relationship has gotten closer. It's only strengthened our marriage so much more. We didn't allow this financial struggle to get in between us, or to make some type of rift between us or anything
You
like
guys,
that.
this happens a lot in marriages too.
Right,
like
right.
The blame game when things get tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys were able to avoid that.
And I felt terrible because it was my idea to work with this guy. When I had seen he was doing so good, and I was paying attention to his profile and his info and what he was claiming and how successful he was, and he had all the videos and pictures to show for it. Lesson learned: don't believe everything you see on social media.
Yes.
And usually the loudest ones are the ones that have so much to prove.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, the truly wealthy people aren't loud about their wealth.
No, they're not. They're very quiet.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing, when a person is really truly an entrepreneur, they don't have time to flex.
Yeah.
No.
Because they know, if you go through my page, every single post, and I have 2 businesses now that are growing. You don't ever see me talking about, I got this big contract here, because every contract that I get, I got a bill to pay.
Yep.
Okay. Or an employee to pay.
Yep.
So it's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's about true, learning to be a good leader, and not throwing out bull crap for somebody to believe in.
Yeah.
And so real entrepreneurs, they don't do that. You might see them taking, they might video themselves, I'm going on this trip, or I'm getting on a plane, business trip, a business meeting or something like that. That's totally different than showing you and your wife on a freaking yacht.
Yeah.
She's going to buy red bottoms and a Louis Vuitton. Listen, I got the money to go into Louis Vuitton and buy me a bag. But I would be absolutely crazy to spend money on a bag that when I leave out of the store, it done already depreciated.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why are people into that? Like, why are they into that? When I was younger, we talked about this. I brought the type of cars that I wanted people to look at and say, ooh, she's driving that. No, I go buy a car. How much is it? Nope.
Yeah.
Right.
The max you gonna get from me is this.
Right.
Yeah.
And make the car note or the finance, or if I have to buy it out, if you had $33,000 on that car and I'm gonna buy it right out, I guarantee you I won't be paying 33.
Yeah.
We're gonna negotiate.
Yeah.
Because I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
So real entrepreneurship don't look like what a lot of these people out here are doing. And a lot of times you have to be careful when they're telling you. It's hard for me because I'm approached by a lot of insurance companies
Oh yeah.
saying to partner with them, and I can sell insurance to my clients that come in. Well, I have a problem with that, me personally,
That sounds a little shady.
because to me, you got to bring these people in, these pyramid type thing. Me personally, I just can't get down with it. And I don't knock anybody that does it.
Right.
But for me personally, I have a problem with that. So it never works out. And I can't build any partnerships because this person approached me when they first met me to go in business with them. And I'm like, that's not my lane. And they couldn't explain. They were like, what do you mean that's not your lane? Listen, I am a strong believer about staying on the road, one road at a time, and driving like Miss Daisy with my face in the window, making sure of the direction that I'm going in. If I get on your road, I'm going back and forth. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on what I'm doing. I don't believe in a lot of partnerships. You know,
like trying to be in like a lot of
like
different-
and doing things, because I do get people to approach me to go into business with them, and number one, another thing that I want the public to know, that when you're forming all of these, these LLCs, and you're putting your name on all of these businesses, the IRS starts to flag you. Because why do you need so many businesses? Why? What is going on? Because that's how people hide fraud.
Yeah.
They have all of these LLCs every time. Or we're going to form a LLC. Let's form a different LLC.
Right.
No, I don't want my name on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because then you become a red flag.
Yeah.
Right.
They want to know what you're doing. Why you need so many LLCs. What are you trying to hide? Money is going everywhere, and it's just, if you think about it, it's so messy.
Yeah.
Because you got 10 LLCs, money going in that, you transferring it over to this one. It's just messy. How you going to keep up with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How you going to keep up with it?
It doesn't look logical. That's why people get flagged, because they're like, there's no way you're running this many businesses. Like, that's
right.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of people out there that forms a lot of LLCs.
They better have a giant management company running that. Like, if I'm not IRS, but like looking at numbers, if I see someone has this many things on there, I was like, do you have 1,000 employees? Because each one of these better have like 60 employees working over here. You have 10 LLCs.
Yeah.
And it's like, if that shows up, then I was like, all right, I guess everything's okay.
Yeah.
But it's quick to see these kind of things.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what hopefully in the future, like, we start catching more people like that try to hide under these umbrellas and just like work. Because as the gentleman that we were talking about today, that it seems that there are other people who are doing the right things. You're doing the right thing. You're investing. Everyone's doing the right thing. He's able to hide under all of this because it's like other people are doing the right thing. I can kind of coast.
Yeah.
I can kind of just not answer things.
Yeah. And one thing that I will like to say is that people have to be very, very careful of a person that makes everything sounds good. Sometimes people can work a room because they got that charisma.
Yeah.
Like everybody looks at them and say, oh, I want to be in his circle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be careful, and you have to question that. Why would anybody want that many people all in their business and all up in their face or whatever? I mean, why would they want that? I used to get offended because people would say that when I walked in a room, I demand attention. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they say, you just got this thing about you where it's like, I'm a boss, so respect me, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not like that at all. But now I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Because people won't be so quick to, just try to, hey, I won't want to be in her circle.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I rather have that type of, effect on people than to have the effect that I just want to be around them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because this is how that person is. Everybody, felt like, oh, he's so cool and he's fun and,
Right.
Yeah.
And look at the situation now.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And, to add to that too, it's like, you have to understand that there are some people out there who believe that the more hands you shake, the more money you make. And I can tell you now, moving forward, my husband and I will never do business with friends again. And not only that, but, and this might not be for everyone, but for us and for our situation, part of the blessings that came out of this too was it really brought us closer to God. It strengthened our relationship with God so much more. And I finally understood, you know what? I'm never going to make a decision again without ever praying about it first.
Yeah.
And I'm not ever going to act on it because not every opportunity out there is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
No.
Not all money is good money.
Mm-hmm.
And not everything you see on social media is really what it's made out to be.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there who, and this is not to knock everybody who's on social media, but really, at the end of the day, a simple Google search using ChatGPT to run information, names will tell you a lot.
Yeah.
It will tell you a lot. And I really wish that I had done that from the beginning before we even started, you know?
So you can put somebody's name in Chat GPT and it'll tell you stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gemini will too, because Gemini's tied in with Google. They could pull up a lot of public
Absolutely.
information. Yeah.
And, you know, and it's
okay.
not, you're not doing anything wrong by Googling this person or searching for this person.
Mhm.
And all the information you're going to get back is public record.
Yeah.
So
That's something that
Mhm.
I learned, you know, in college. They would always say, before, like, if you are going to work for a company
Mm.
and you're going on an interview, research the company,
Right.
learn about that company, learn
Exactly.
about what they do. And it even taught me how to go and look for comments or whatever from the employees. And they would put it out there like, they did this to me, or they said this, the manager was, you know, nasty or whatever. So I sort of got into habit, you know, from early on to always, no matter where I'm. And now when I have a new client and I'm going to see them, I look them up. If one client I looked up, their rating with the Better Business Bureau was an F. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be a lot of work. And then once I got in there, I seen why. And so we're working on that, and I'm helping them to fix that.
Okay.
But I look at everything.
Yeah.
You know, I look at the owner
Yeah.
and how they interact with people, because you can research that. So I started that. Well, I didn't know that you can do it through GP Chat.
can.
I just
Yeah.
did it.
And actually, I will say this too: if you're ever going to work for or you know with someone, definitely look up where their money is at. Like, because
Yeah.
I was going to say, you know, obviously your story, you knew this person personally, so when they tell you stories, you're like, I'm not going to try and vet them. I know them.
Right.
Like, why would I?
Yeah.
That's rude.
Yeah.
That's mean. But I remember, I still work for this business, so I'm going to be vague. But the owner of the business used to have investments in businesses that he did not want to be associated with anymore. And I did not want to work for him if he still had those investments. I was like, I don't want to work in this kind of field. And when I had seen like, no, he got rid of all of that. He wants to create a new image. I was like, well, that shows he cares, so that I can work with that.
Right.
But yeah. Ooh. Still recording a little bit.
But yeah, so that's, I really, you know, for all of those listening out there, I highly recommend that you do your research, do your background checks, involve a lawyer. Don't just, it doesn't matter if it's a friend that you've known. It doesn't matter if it's family. Honestly, to be honest with you, friends and family will be the first to screw you over.
Yeah.
That's
true.
what I've learned throughout life.
That's true.
Heard that a lot.
You know,
And-
those
and-
closest to you
And
will be
to
the
add
first.
to that, you can't get a good CPA because they, you know, we do have the tools to create businesses and stuff like that. But I'm very, with me, usually when someone comes in to set up their business, I'm not the type to say, okay, yeah, let's set up your business. My first thing is why? Well, I was told to set up this LLC so that I can do this and I can do that. And I'm like, okay. So if you went now, what kind of questions they going to ask you? What they going to ask you for? And they say, oh, well, they're going to ask me for this and this and that. Well, if you set up the LLC, are you going to have any of that? Well, no, because I just started. Exactly. So are we setting up a business, or do you want to go home and think about it?
Right.
You know, because you need to know before you set up that business,
Yeah.
you know, if an LLC is even necessary, you know. And I'm going to say this before we wrap up. If you are starting your business and you're just starting off, you don't know how well the business is going to do. You don't know if you're going to sell good or whatever. You're just working at it. People, you can set up a sole proprietorship. It's so cheap to do. In most places, it's free. The IRS will give you a tax ID number, but it's still under your personal social. But you can do that, and then you could lock the name up. So if you you started a sole proprietor, they say doing business as, you put the name of the business that you want to use. And then when the business grow and you turn it into an LLC, you've already locked that name. And guess what? You have a sole proprietorship. You don't have no annual fees, right? You got a business bank account, and then you can see how well the business is doing. If you are doing business and you're staying under 25, 30,000, that's all you need. You don't need to be doing an LLC and creating bills for you, because when you create that LLC, you have to create that. You have to pay those fees every single year, number one. And if you're in California, you got to pay $800 just to have it. And you make no money. So why do that? You can do a sole proprietorship. That's how I started my business. Yeah. And I'm an accounting firm. I started it as a sole proprietor, and I worked out of my home. And when it grew, I moved out, and that's when I set up my business setting. Once I was making over, I was over 100, I think, at that time. Yeah. So I had to change it, and I changed my business setup then. But I started off as a sole proprietorship.
Wow.
Well, and and I want to add to that too also. If anybody out there is interested in starting a business or anything that has to do with their business, honestly, you need to get in touch with Sheila, because I have never met a tax accountant who knows what she knows. I mean, this podcast alone says it all, Business Fumbles. Yeah. She knows. She's so much experience. She's got a book out there that I bought as well. And it's been so great working with her and talking with her and just going back and forth with our stories. It's like, really, if you're really serious about wanting to have a business, start a business, and wanting to be successful and wanting to do it the right way, you need to call Sheila. You need to work with Sheila, seriously, because she's seen it all. She's heard it all. She has so much experience in the good, the bad, the ugly. And, that would definitely be my advice. And then also too, if you're in town, if you're in Las Vegas and you want really, really good home cooked food, you need to hit up Ink Street Kitchen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ink Street Kitchen.
No, they're good.
That's so unfair because I'm hungry right now.
I know. Well, that's hard.
I love Ink. His food is just, his food is, man, it is top notch. He had moved to Utah, but he's back in Vegas now. So your girl going to be putting on a little weight because I got to go see my dude. I got to go see him. But, can you let them know how they can reach out to you if they want to talk to you more, learn more about your story? Can you let them know how they can get a hold to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can go ahead and link my email address, probably in the description of the video. You're more than welcome to reach out to me via email. I'm here for any advice, maybe to share more in depth of what I did to get to where I'm at now in our situation, because our story is definitely not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. More.
Yeah.
It's still
and
going.
She is a top notch. I think the FBI need to be getting in contact with her because, man, she investigated and she was bringing up stuff, and I was like, what?
Maybe you find a new job for yourself.
Heard of that.
Look,
you know, like she was determined, but throughout this process of me learning her, when things, sometimes she'll reach out to me and say, I'm having a bad day. And I'll tell her, you got this. If anybody got it, you got it. Yeah. And I just share, scriptures with her and tell her to focus on that. Yeah. Because if you're God-fearing, and you're going through situations, for me, that's my go-to. Yeah. And I always get through it. And that's where you build your trust that you're going to be okay. Yeah. And so with that being said, I thank you guys for joining in. If you have a story that you want to tell and come and sit on this couch, listen, don't be embarrassed. No. We all have fumbled. That's why I created Business Fumble, because I fumbled. Okay. And I've been in this business for over 30 something years. So I've seen it all. Okay, guys, I worked as a temp with McDonald's, the corporation. So I can tell y'all some stories and some things that I found and the things that they had to change. So no, everybody out here has fumbled. Everybody. So there's no need to feel embarrassed. There's no need to feel shame. But there is a need for you to sit on this couch and tell your story. Why? Because your story educates and it teaches other people. And what good is any experience if it's not shared? Because you sharing it can save the next person, because they could be going through the very same thing. They could get a phone call that very day that they watch your episode and you're telling them what happened, and that saves them from going through the same thing, because we're talking about families here.
Yeah.
So when you've made that mistake, let people know so that they can learn from it.
Yeah.
Because as I always say, what's good is experience, what good is education, what good is anything if it's not shared?
Yeah.
So share with us, and don't forget to hit that follow button and check us out, on Spotify and all of the podcast platforms.